You are now tuned into the Anxious Ambition podcast, where you'll be hearing raw and unfiltered conversations with those who struggle with mental illness but refuse to let that get in the way of them achieving their dreams. Our hope is that by hearing their stories, you are inspired to do more. Here are their stories.
Anxious
Ambition.
Welcome back to another episode of the Anxious Ambition podcast. I am your host, Justin Allen, and today's going to be another solo episode. We're going to have a guest back on next week, and we're excited to get back and doing some interviews. The last Q&A was really good. It was more focused on mental health in general, not specifically myself. And, this episode, I kind of wanted to give you guys a little bit more insight into myself. And honestly, I got a huge list of questions you guys sent in. Some are mental health related, some are just random stuff. That, just some ways you guys can get to know me a little bit more, so you can, see where I'm coming from on things and just kind of, learn more about me. So just start with some of the lighthearted stuff. Let's see here. Age. I'm 30 years old. Yeah, 30. Been dealing with anxiety for about 14 years since I think I was like 16 when I finally kind of like understood what was going on. And by understood, I mean just kind of started realizing that this nervousness, this shyness was more than just those things. Like, it's more than just like being shy. Like, I actually was dealing with anxiety disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, and then the depression aspect really didn't kind of come until 18, 19, something like that. But another question is my current mood. Great question. Honestly, today was a really tough day for me mentally. Work has been pretty crazy. I'm thankful to have a job, so I try to stay grateful that I am working right now and I haven't been affected financially from the pandemic. We've been able to work consistently. So yeah, my mood's been honestly kind of bad. My depression has been pretty amplified the last month or so. I believe it's been triggered by the stress, the increased anxiety, and it kind of leads me to why we made this, this channel, the business of Anxious Ambition. The whole point, and we preach, is that we have these dreams and aspirations of things that we want to achieve, and you can still be a high achiever even if you deal with some sort of mental illness. And honestly, I'm sitting here just earlier today, and I'm like, damn, I have a low mood. I'm not really motivated to do anything today, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I got to practice what I preach. And in order for me to continue to see progress, to stick to my goals, making this podcast was really important. And honestly, just kind of the action of starting it, whether it's, doing exercise that, you need to do, or going for a walk, or doing the work you need to do, working on your side hustle, things like that. When our anxiety or depression is telling us, no, don't do anything, relax, lay on the couch, there's a time to rest. And last week I did take that week off to rest. But it comes to the point where you need to kind of push through a little bit, and make sure you're still achieving your, striving to achieve your dreams. And I want this podcast to be all over the place, not really for my enjoyment per se, but really just to kind of help spread the word and end the stigma around mental illness, and giving people some hope, and listen to my stories, other people's stories. And if you're in a bad mood, or you feel like your depression's kind of taken over, sometimes just taking action and and I don't want to say ignore, but kind of understand you're feeling the way you feel because of depression, anxiety, but your goal, just the way, in order for you to stick to your goal, you need to do certain things. So that's why I'm here today. So, and to be honest with you, I feel a hell of a lot better just hopping on this, talking to you guys, and just talking about what's going on with myself. It's not only beneficial for me, but hopefully it helps you guys too. Just because, I mean, you really aren't alone in all this. I'm no more special than you. You just got to choose to take action sometimes. So let's see what kind of questions we got. What do you do for a living? So we are kind of talking on that. I'm in sales, so I sell residential fences. So like your fence that goes around your yard. I do that in the Chicagoland area, and I love it. It's not a job that if you asked me this, 5 years ago, I never would have saw myself doing this. I actually went to school for exercise science, and I spent a couple years doing personal training. And then from there, I actually was really interested in supplements, vitamins, minerals, workout stuff. That was my main focus with my degree. And honestly, it's not really, exercise science isn't nutrition. So I learned that kind of the hard way. Didn't really enjoy the personal training aspect of things. So I was in the nutrition field for 5 years or so, was in that for a long time. And the place I worked ended up shutting its doors. Um, Honestly, we were doing way more business on Amazon than we were doing in the store. So it just didn't make sense to keep the store open. So that kind of transitioned to me into like more part-time. And obviously that's not going to work for what I was looking for. So I got into sales, and I love it. Just being an entrepreneurial, having that entrepreneurial mindset, it allows me to kind of have more control of my outcome and my work. So you're not just clocking in, clocking out, getting paid for your time. You're getting paid for your efforts. You're getting paid for, your sales techniques, for, being, just a good salesman. And I really pride myself in honesty, and it's kind of really carried me to where I am today. And so that's what I do. So if you're in the Chicago area and you need a fence, give me a call. But another thing I did, just kind of touch on my career path. I was also a volleyball coach for, I believe, 6 years. I coached the high school level. I coached at the club level. The main focus was the club, which is like travel volleyball, boys volleyball. Not in every state, boys volleyball is a popular thing, but here in Illinois, super popular. And it was it's one thing I miss. I mean, with my job now, it makes it pretty difficult to do coaching with that kind of schedule. It was like every weekend, traveling a lot, late nights. Just with my work schedule, it made it really difficult. But I was a coach for a long time, so I love volleyball. I played volleyball in high school, college, and then I coached for a while. So, but right now, yeah, I'm in sales. I'm more of a like in the contractor type business, and that's what I do. And let's see. What is the last song you listened to? Oh boy. Well, let's just look it up. Let's see. Okay. The song is called Beat Up Carhartt by David Morris. I'll kind of show the screen what it is. I can't play it. I'm gonna get a strike from YouTube, but do your favor, look him up. If you like rap, if you like country, then this is the song for you. It's literally, the guy's like a country rapper. It's pretty awesome. Another question is like, what's your favorite type of music? So my favorite music, I grew up listening to a lot of rap, hip hop music, and then kind of going into college, really got into EDM, dance music, like techno type stuff, and that's kind of where I'm at now. I love listening to rap, EDM, And now, my wife is a huge country fan, so it's kind of rubbed off on me where I'm starting to enjoy it. So that's what I listen to. A little side note, I actually DJ'd in college as well. I DJ'd from actually I started like mixing around with DJing stuff in high school, making the mixtapes for the volleyball games, and then in college I actually played at a lot of parties, bars, fraternity, sorority parties, things like that. So it's a little bit into my past life for you. Your favorite novel? Um, I do read a lot of nonfiction when I do read, and but my favorite novel would be, I guess when I think novel, I think fiction. I don't even know if that's accurate, but The Alchemist, great book. It's it's a warrior's journey type or hero's journey type book. It's all about, this guy's got this goal in mind, and kind of the whole book you're supposed to get from it is that the journey is what's important, and it's something I like really try to think about in my life. So if we do, and I'm definitely guilty of it, we focus a lot on the future, and when we do that it kind of takes away from our present and the journey we're on. You can have these goals in mind, but if we're not enjoying the journey, there's you're gonna have a hell of a life, and you might reach that goal, but you've wasted all these years of your life. So if you're looking for a fiction book to read, The Alchemist, I listen to it on Audible. I'm not a good reader myself, so Audible is a great way to do it. um, the narrator does a really good job on Audible specifically, so I would check that out. And as far as like nonfiction book goes, hmm, well, I got one right here, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Let's see. This is a really excellent book for anyone just looking for any advice on being financially free, and not being like that middle class mindset. It's really good. It basically talks about Robert Kiyosaki is the author, and he talks about rich dad and his poor dad. So his poor dad's his actual dad, who's middle class, but just kind of the way he thinks about things, he's never really, he never really breaks out of the rat race. And then he's got his friend's dad, who's his quote unquote rich dad, who kind of shows him the way of how to be successful and how to, change the way you think about things and money. And, even if, they get into the weeds about, real estate and everything, but the main takeaways from it is, how you think about things instead of, a good example would be like, let's just say you see a house you really like, and you drive by it and you think, oh man, it sucks, I can't afford that. That's a the poor man's mindset. No, the rich dad mindset would have been like, oh, it's a beautiful house, how can I afford it? It's more of the how instead of, oh, I can't get it. So that type of thing. So it's a great read. Let's see, where would I like to travel? I'd really like to go to Japan if we're talking about international. If you're watching the video, you can see my tattoos. This is a Japanese traditional tattoo. I love the Japanese culture. I love sushi. I think the food would be incredible. I'm really into cars. So the JDM, Japanese cars, would be so cool to see. Love to go to Tokyo and just experience that world. I know Tokyo or Japan just seems like a totally different world than America, so that'd be really great to go to. As far as in the United States goes, I'd really like to go to Colorado. I've still never been there. Hawaii, just a couple places to name a few. Hugs or kisses? That's a random one. um, Both. I think. I mean, I love hugging people. I believe it. It's a great way to show you care for someone. Great way to comfort someone. Um, a kiss can be more intimate, but a hug and kiss on the cheek to your mom is gonna nothing's better, right? Um, next question before we kind of get into some anxiety questions, I got a list of those as well. A quote you live by. So actually in my office I have a couple different quotes up, my work office, and one that I look at every day that Wayne Gretzky said, and it's you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So if you think about that, it's all about taking risks. And if you don't take those risks, there's no chance of the reward. If you think of it simply, I mean, I know Wayne Gretzky said it, but I always think of it as like a basketball thing. Shooters got to shoot. If you get the basketball and you don't shoot it, 100% chance you won't score, right? If you shoot it, chance you score. So I like to think about it in life, whether it's maybe I'm at work and I'm kind of going back and forth, should I call this person? Is it worth it? Can I make the sale or, something like that? Well, here's the deal. If I don't call them, if I don't take that shot, the answer is no. The chances are zero. So like I said, 100% of the time you don't, 100% of shots that aren't taken can't go in. So if you're ever on the fence about doing something, think about that quote and go for it. Life's all about going for it. As long as it's safe and there's not some extreme risk involved, take that shot. Okay, so I got a list of questions, anxiety related questions, mental health related in general, that I kind of want to, change topics and give you guys some more insight into myself. Let's see. When did you first realize that these were things you'd be dealing with, aka anxiety? And when did you put a name on it? It's probably, I was around 16. And truthfully, I don't know if, depending on how old you are, if there was a show on MTV called MTV, was it True Life? And there was one, it's a documentary style show where they follow a couple people in different topics. So this one, I can't remember if it was the title of it or just the people that were involved, but it was True Life. Like I have obsessive compulsive disorder. And at the time, I had all these rituals. I had all these thoughts. I had these tendencies that I did all the time. And, it wasn't taught to me, it just started happening. And now I will say the show was pretty extreme. And I don't mean that to belittle anything, but, you can, they go into, these people are extremely OCD. To the point where they have a really hard time living their lives. And at the time, I wasn't at that point, but I watched it. I'm like, holy shit. Like I do that. I do that. Oh, I don't do that, but I can see why they do that. Or you start picking up things. I'm like, holy cow, people use the word OCD all the time, to describe, oh, they just like being clean. And when I actually saw what obsessive compulsive disorder was, I'm like, it feels right. It feels like, well, what's going on with me? So that's when I would say that's when when I realized that was a thing. And then you dig a little deeper and it's like, okay, that's, anxiety. I learned a little more anxiety. And then, it wasn't for a couple of years later that I, discovered the depression part. But, I actually went to the doctor and I nonchalantly was talking about some of my symptoms. And he's like, oh yeah, you have OCD. And it's like, okay, well, I confirmed it. So that's kind of the first time I put a name to it. And at first it was definitely kind of scary. It's like, oh my God, like I have a disorder, blah, blah, blah. But it helped me realize that I wasn't just crazy or there wasn't just something wrong. That I wasn't like an outlier. Millions of people deal with this. And putting a name to it actually was kind of liberating, knowing what you have and what you can, maybe I can start looking into how I can help myself and things like that. So I say that's about when, 16, seeing True Life. If you haven't seen the episode, I'm sure it's on YouTube. You can find it. True Life. I have obsessive compulsive disorder. Holy shit. It is a very, very interesting like documentary. If someone is suffering from OCD and maybe they have a family member or a friend that doesn't understand it, this is a great thing to watch. And it could be really educational. Let's see what else we got. Let's see. When did you realize these things weren't going to go away? Wow. Um, it probably wasn't until college. Um, I thought that if I took a medication, it would just go away. When I was 19, they put me on Celexa for the OCD to see if that would help. And it didn't really do, I mean, it helped, but it didn't make it go away. It just kind of helped me deal with it a little bit better at the time. I don't take Celexa at this point, but this was 12 years ago, whatever. But, I realized, the doctor was just like, hey, this isn't something to be afraid of, but at the same time, like it's not just going to go away. Like it might be something you deal with forever, and just learning the coping mechanisms and things like that. So it was that, and then honestly, just years of having it and being like, okay, well, this isn't going anywhere. Getting better at handling it, but it's something that's just a part of me. And if you're out there suffering with anxiety, depression, bipolar, OCD, whatever it is, it's okay to realize that it may never go away entirely. Um, but again, that's one of the points of this podcast, is to kind of give you a sense of, there is hope out there. There's hope to help you get through things, and you can still live a happy, healthy, fun, successful life, even if you suffer with these things. So, um, let's see what else we got. When has anxiety put a strain on relationships? Damn. Um, I will say this, and as far as anxiety, I'm going to lump depression in that too. Depression and anxiety can put a big hamper on some relationships, and if you deal with anxiety, you may cancel plans. You may not want to go do things because it puts you in it may be a trigger for you. Maybe your friends all want to go somewhere, but it's like, yeah, I know I had a panic attack there once, and you really don't want to go, and you don't really want to explain that to them. So maybe you just kind of bail. So then, you look like the asshole to your friends. Or um, another thing is anger. When if you've been really anxious, that I mean, for me personally, if I'm really anxious, um, I get really irritable, and it's not, it's you're so overwhelmed that any external things that are coming in, whether it's someone trying to get you to do something, or they probably don't know you're anxious, so the way you react to them is harsh, and maybe you've got some attitude to them, and that can definitely hamper relationships, because like, wow, this guy's being a real asshole today. um but I will say, with that being said, that's why you need to tell your friends and family. And you may know who not to tell. Maybe there's some people that's just like not worth it. It's like, yeah, they're not going to believe you, or you don't care enough about them for them to care it either. So, you got your best friends, your family, and if they know what's going on, maybe, I'll give you an example. With me and my wife, if I'm really anxious, maybe I'll snap at her, nothing aggressive, but, like just some sarcastic, or you have some attitude. Maybe not in the moment, but maybe, an hour later, something like, hey, babe, like, I'm sorry. Like, I was really anxious. Like, I really didn't mean any of that. And the great thing is that, yeah, she may have been mad at me at the time, which rightfully so. Right. But by explaining to her, hey, I was just anxious, like, it's instantly like, okay, I get it. And same with vice versa for everyone else. If someone I know is dealing with anxiety, I always give them a little bit of a break. Now, don't use it as a crutch. You can't just be a bitch or an asshole all the time and think you're going to get away with it. But the more you're open about what you're dealing with, the better overall it's going to be. Because um, anxiety can not only affect you, but it's going to affect the people around you when you let it. Or if you're dealing with an anxiety attack or a panic attack, it can affect the people around you, and that's how I can see it affecting relationships. Same thing goes for depression. Now, depression is a whole nother thing too, and if you're depressed, you may not want to go hang out with your friends. You may not want to go to the family parties, or you may not be as social when you're out with your friends. But if you make the effort to go do the things still too, and kind of let your friends know, like, hey, I'm actually really depressed right now. I'm not saying this for sympathy or anything, but I really need to rest, or I'm just not in the mood to hang out. It's not, you want people to know it's not personal. That's the main thing. No matter what the struggle is, if you let everyone know that it's not personal, I'm sorry, it's just something I'm dealing with, that'll help a lot too. So it could definitely put a strain on relationships, but if you're open about it, all is good. And if you've got friends that don't, or quote unquote friends that don't understand, and don't have any sympathy for you, and not that you're looking for, oh, I hope you're okay, and like, oh, like all that shit. You're not asking for, oh, what was me? That's what I'm saying. If they understand, then those are your true friends. The people that don't, fuck them, let them move on. Those aren't your friends. It's the harsh truth, but it's the truth. Let's look at the questions we got to. How long before you told your friends and family about it? Two stories come to mind. Um, I can't remember how old I was, but I was in high school, probably 17, 18 years old. And at this point, my parents, and it's no fault to them, but they didn't really understand what I was going through. And honestly, I didn't totally get it either. But I remember having this just breakdown. I don't even remember what was going on, but I just remember like yelling and screaming, be like, hey, like, you don't get it. Like, I'm dealing with anxiety. This isn't just me. Whatever the situation was, I was so overwhelmed, and I was crying, and it wasn't really a situation that really should have happened, if that makes sense. I was just so overwhelmed, and I just broke down, and like, I'm anxious. Like, this isn't something, I'm not making this up. This is deeper than that. And that was the first moment I think my parents understood something was going on. And, it felt good to get it out. And I think that was one of the first times I kind of told them about it, and they understood what was going on. And then probably the most vivid memory I have is my freshman year of college, when I was on the men's volleyball team, and we had this thing where everyone kind of gave their life story. So we sit around as a team and kind of just tell our life stories, and some of them got really deep, some got real personal. I'm not going to say anything about everyone else's story, but for me, I remember telling everyone, explaining, hey, I deal with OCD, and I remember apologizing for some of my actions, because I remember I was anxious and just some of my outbursts. And that was probably the most liberating thing to date, that helped me with my mental health, because I went from not really telling anyone about it to telling my 20 teammates, coaches, and it was all out there. And I'm sure a lot of guys didn't get it. I mean, people weren't talking about mental health all that much back in like 2010. And but it helped me so much. It made me feel comfortable saying, oh, I'm on medication, or hey, sorry, I can't go out drinking tonight because I don't want to be anxious tomorrow. Or like, it just, it allowed me to be myself. It truly did. Um, and that was one of the best parts about college. Even just at like that moment, it allowed me to, it totally freed me from that stigma of just saying like, hey, this is me. And no one, I mean, I didn't lose any friends out of it. I'm still very close with a lot of people that I played with. And that's kind of my most fond memory of telling people that I had anxiety, OCD specifically. But let's see. Let's do one more of these, and we'll kind of get back into some of the fun stuff. We're getting a little deep, huh? Um, have you utilized manifestation in your life? Yes, I have. Is there an instance where you didn't necessarily get or achieve what you had in mind, but were happy with the result because it was close? Um, yes, I will now I'm going to kind of rephrase this. Manifestation, when you have that thought in mind of what you want, the object or job or whatever it is that you're trying to manifest, you really got to attach yourself to the feeling you're going to get when you achieve that, not necessarily not actually the thing itself. And what I mean by that is you never know what's in store for you, and what you have in mind might not be what's best. And what I mean by that is, here's the example I'm going to give. I know I talked about this with in the podcast with Joanna from Downward Cow. When me and my wife were looking into buying a house, um, I started writing down every day, along with some other things. I'm happy and grateful to be living in, our dream starter home. Where we can, our dog can play and we can raise our family, and so on and so forth. And if anyone's been in the market lately, houses are going quick, real quick, like same day. Houses getting 10 offers, things like that. So we made, when we started that journey, first house, didn't get it. We loved it. Thought that was the perfect house. Didn't get it. Second house, didn't get it. Right. And this whole time, you get mad for a little bit, or disappointed, but this whole time I knew and I had faith that what was the dream house for us was going to come. And we had to kind of give ourselves up to that and just kind of let it happen and go through the process. And when it happens, it happens. And if you're into angel numbers or repeating numbers, our house address actually ends in 333. And when we started looking at the house, it was weird. It was like, I don't know if I liked it. It just, there's something about the house we didn't like, jump at. But then the more we looked at it, the pictures sucked, right? So we came and looked at it. It's like, oh, this place is pretty great. And the more and more you look into it, we found our perfect house. And that 333 I brought up because when you see repeating numbers, it kind of shows you're on the right path. And just something told me, hey, this is the right house. And we got the house. Turns out it's a mile away from my in-laws. So when we do have kids, or even now, we both have dogs. They come over, they bring the dog over, they play. We're in our perfect dream house. And this situation can happen with anything. And that's just my example. Maybe it's, you're dreaming of, I really want this specific car. And when you manifest, you really want to keep it open to like this or something better. And then what I mean by that is, let's just say, I don't know, I'm gonna throw out something basic. I really want a BMW M4 or something, a specific car. And you're manifesting it. It's like, oh, I can't wait to drive that car. And that feeling you get from it, that's what you're that's what you use to visualize and manifest things. You need that feeling. And the universe might say, I know you really want that car, but this car is going to really give you that feeling. And then one day you might see it and be like, damn, that's actually what I want. And if you weren't so pinpointed on that M4 or whatever, you would never even have looked at that other car. So when you do manifest, keep it broad in the sense of, I'm happy and grateful to have this job or something greater. And just trust the universe. It'll come your way. All right, let's get back into some of these random ones, right? Let's see. What's one of your passions? Ooh. Honestly, I just really love helping people in any sense, whether it's through work, through this page, through holding the door open for someone, giving gifts. I really love giving, and it's definitely a passion of mine. It makes me feel good, helping other people feel good. And, I've thought about this a lot, and I think part of it has to do with depression. I think people that deal with depression sometimes outwardly express, like they try to do their best to help other people be happy because maybe they can't experience that type of happiness. Um, and it might sound dark, but there's times where I can't feel that happy, and it is who I am, right? It's my brain chemistry and stuff. But if I can make someone else feel happy, like even that will kind of boost my mood, and it feels good. It's good for your mental health to help other people. Let's see what else we got on here. Let's do this one. Let's just run through some of these. What's your favorite color? It's actually purple. Looking at my watch, it's got purple dial, got purple on my tattoos. Purple's always been my favorite color. I don't totally even know why. Um, I grew up being a Lakers fan too, which just happened to be yellow and purple and gold. I don't, and it's just my favorite team. And purple has just been, it's a unique color, for a man. But actually, if you didn't know, Kings wore purple, so it is a manly color. But let's see, where do you like to shop? Honestly, so I'm 6'6", almost 6'7". I shop wherever it's got tall sizes. So, um, American Eagle, Gap, um, things like that. I also love jerseys. I love wearing jerseys, basketball jerseys. Um, Obviously, because they fit, because they're made for tall people. What's your favorite drink? Are we talking alcohol or let's talk alcohol first? So, for drinks, I love bourbon. I've got a bourbon wall over here. If we're gonna make like my perfect drink, it's either gonna be an old fashioned with a rye whiskey, or if it's something more not so strong, like what is it? A Kentucky Mule. So if you know a Moscow Mule with like ginger beer and vodka, just do ginger beer with a bourbon, a little lime, a little mint. It's a chef's kiss. It's delicious, delicious, delicious. If we're going non-alcoholic, honestly, water. I drink a lot of water, and I also love ginger ale, which is, here's a side note: if you are someone that deals with nausea or upset stomach with anxiety, get yourself some ginger ale or even just ginger candies. But ginger ale is a nice little treat for helping your stomach out. What is your favorite TV show? Honestly, I don't watch all that much TV. I watch a lot of YouTube. Um, I do watch shows here and there, just kind of stuff that's on TV. Like we were kind of into the Marvel stuff right now. We just watched Loki, WandaVision. We watched all that stuff. I tend not to watch kind of like Netflix shows because not that I don't like them, because I just know myself. And if I start watching them, I won't get anything done because I'll just want to watch the whole damn thing. And that's why I kind of hold off on some shows. Like I haven't seen Game of Thrones. I know, shame on me, but I just know if I start watching it, I'm gonna lose like a month of my life. So, um, favorite movie. I kind of suck when it comes to movies. I'm not like a big cinematic guy. Honestly, my top movies are original Space Jam, A Night at the Roxbury, Good Burger, and if you haven't seen it, Kazam, not Shazam, Kazam. It's a movie where Shaquille O'Neal plays a genie. It's worth the watch. At least if you have kids, watch it. It's hilarious. Like I said, I'm not into like serious movies. I mean, if I were to pick some, like Inception, I love Interstellar, movies that get you thinking. I have a hard time watching movies because I think they're too predictable, and it's like, I don't know. If I'm gonna watch something for 2 hours, I want it to either just be funny or just like wildly entertaining. Let's see what else we got. This might not be for me, but it says, "Do you like to get your nails done?" Okay. Funny enough, I've actually, if you're a guy and you feel like it's weird getting a pedicure, try it. I've done it like 3 or 4 times. It is a delightful treat. It is. It is. I can't get over the fact that I'm ticklish as hell when they do the stone thing. But if you're a guy, think about getting a pedicure with your lady or your man or whatever, significant other, do it. It's pretty relaxing. let's see. Do you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert? Um, I feel like I could be both. Um, Now when I think of introvert, extrovert, I think of how do you recharge in a sense of what what helps you relax and rest, and is good for your soul in that sense. What I mean by that is I would rather be by myself if I'm having a bad day or just need time to rest. Some people, they have a tough week and they want to go out with friends or go out to the bars and be around a bunch of people. Um, which is cool. It's just not my style, right? Like, I love doing those things, but not for that reason, right? Um, I can be extroverted when need to be. And like I said, I'm in sales, but that's kind of more of a one-on-one basis. So that's what I like about that. When I think of extroverts, I think of more of big crowds of people and things like that. So naturally, I would say I'm more introverted. Let's see. What what is your idea of a perfect vacation? Um, Honestly, probably going back to the introvert thing. I just want to be somewhere I can relax, the beach, the forest, the mountains, somewhere I can just chill for a bit, disconnect from my phone, be in be in nature. I don't want to be hiking or anything. I just want to be chilling, maybe go have some beers and just kind of relax. So whether it's on the beach, somewhere carefree, I'm not trying to like go to a city for a vacation. That doesn't recharge me. Um, all right, yeah, this is probably gonna be my last one. Have you ever met a famous person? Honestly, one thing pops into my mind, and I got to tell this story. So this is probably about 10 years ago, if not, probably longer, 15 years ago. I'm probably like 16 years old. And my grandfather, who graduated from Notre Dame, was having his reunion. I don't know how long, probably a 50-year reunion or something. And it's me, my dad, and my grandpa, and we're at Notre Dame for this reunion. I didn't know much about it at the time. I was just kind of tagging along. I'm sure my grandpa was happy for me to be there. Rest in peace. And this was the this was the peak time of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Now we all know that show, right? Regis Philbin also graduated from Notre Dame. Now, I loved Regis. Regis and Kelly was going on. He was the shit. And we're sitting at the table, and I'm like, man, I want to meet Regis. Now, I can't necessarily say I met him, but I'm sitting at the table and I see Regis get up and kind of walk outside the door. And so I kind of go out there too. Well, it turns out he said to go to the bathroom. So me and Regis are in the bathroom and we're peeing next to each other. So we basically met. And I'm kind of thinking, like, all right, do I say something? Do I say hello? And I kind of turned to say something to him, and he was just talking to himself. I was like, what the hell? Turns out he's probably just reciting his speech, because as soon as we got out of the bathroom, he went on stage and started giving his speech. So I know I didn't really meet him, but I still has a funny story that everyone should hear. And you know, before we get out of here, I just want to say thank you to everyone for your continued support. It means the world to me. It gives me the motivation to make these videos when I don't feel like it, or when my mental illness gets in the way. And I really, really hope that by listening to this, not only hearing my story, but hearing our guest stories, that it gives you that push, that little bit of extra motivation to go do what you know you need to do, to get through the day, to go exercise because you know you need to start that podcast, start that business, to call that friend. And I hope that, by checking out Anxious Ambition and seeing the community that we're building, that it just gives you hope. That's all we want to give people. Life can still be whatever you want it to be despite your mental illness. And you should never, ever forget that. And if you're really struggling right now, please get help. Do not feel like you are less of a man, less of a woman, whatever. We all need help at times, and it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to seek help. So if you just want to chat, honestly, reach out to me, send us a message on Instagram, send me an email, justin@anxiousambition.com. If there's any specific topics you want to hear us talk about, if there's any guests you want me to try to get on, email it to me, DM us, any way you want, comment on a picture. This podcast is not just for me, it's for you guys. So whatever you guys want me to do, I will try to do that for you so we can help you in many ways as we can. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Anxious Ambition Podcast. You can find us on all podcast platforms. Follow us on Instagram @Anxious Ambition. You can actually watch this podcast over on YouTube. Lastly, check out our website, anxiousambition.com, where we have all of our merch, and a portion of every sale is donated to NAMI, and it helps support the individuals and their families who are suffering from mental illness. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, take it easy.
Anxious.
Ambition.
You are now tuned into the Anxious Ambition podcast, where you'll be hearing raw and unfiltered conversations with those who struggle with mental illness but refuse to let that get in the way of them achieving their dreams. Our hope is that by hearing their stories, you are inspired to do more. Here are their stories.
Anxious.
Ambition.